Good morning, sir.
Good morning, madam.
Ça va? How you doing?
Very good.
Excellent. It's good to see you.
You too, Carolyn.
Thank you, Dr. Rosensweet, always. Boy, are we getting questions. I got to tell you, like they're coming in fast and furious. So my
Hola, la persona en España. Hola, Paula in España.
Mi amo Paco. I mean, that's about as much as I remember from Spanish.
Oh, we're getting a message in the chat from Paula in Spain.
Spain, and you know what? Blessings, Paula. Thank you. You're up all the time, and it's always lovely to see you. And good morning, Facebook user. Good morning, ladies. As you come up, we have questions, and we're going to get right to them. All right, Dr. R, you ready for me?
Yes, I am.
Okay, and Emmy is too. She's right here. She's going to help me. Okie dokie. Number one question. Why, and we have visited this many times, however, women are still asking because they're not understanding. They're getting mixed messages. Why would we cycle and stop hormones a few days per month? Many do not. May we please revisit this, because I was never told to stop my hormones. It's been said.
Yes. Here's the reason. Ovarian hormones are fat soluble. And let me give you another example of a fat soluble vitamin. Vitamin A. I mean, a fat soluble something. And if you take too much vitamin A, you're going to turn yellow. Mm-hmm. And the main reason is that you don't just pee out the extra vitamin A that you take in like you would B vitamins. You just take in too many B vitamins. They're water soluble. You'll just pee out the extra stuff and it'll be no big deal. But if something is fat soluble, it will store, it'll accumulate, it'll dissolve into the fat, be picked up by the fat cells. And so eventually, if you have too much vitamin A, you're going to turn yellow, because that's one of the colors of vitamin A.
Because it stays in your system. Fat soluble.
Well, ovarian hormones are fat soluble too. And if you're taking too much ovarian hormones, you're not going to turn color because they don't have a color. But gradually, you'll build up excessive levels of the hormones in your body. And that's something we don't want with hormones, because hormones are so powerful. We don't want you to go on to excessive levels.
Yes.
Now, in many cases, if a woman is taking too much estrogen, for example, and she's taking an excessive amount of estrogen, it's going to build up so fast, she'll start getting symptoms of excessive estrogen in her body. And for some women, these are very familiar symptoms. She'll get overstimulation of breast glandular tissue, for example, and she'll start getting breast tenderness, breast pain, breast fullness, breast overfullness, overstimulation by the estrogen that's accumulating from an excessive dose. She might even get uterine cramps. She might even get uterine bleeding, because the excessive estrogen will build up her endometrium again. She might even get her periods back. That's when it's gross, when the dosages are noticeable and feelable, and that's a common thing.
Right.
And we realize that as we help women determine what their proper dose is. But let's say it's just a little bit.
Okay.
Let's say that each day she's putting on the right amount plus a little bit extra. And that's gradually going to build up over time. And one of the ways that we prevent buildup, let's say she does 10 extra molecules every day. Well, that's fat soluble, so it's going to build up in her body, and it's going to take a long time for 10 extra molecules to add up to excessive dosage, and she gets breast tenderness.
Can I just ask really quickly, is that nipple tenderness too?
Yes, it is.
Okay.
Nipple itching. it's nipple pain, it's breast fullness, excessive fullness, it's overstimulation of breast glandular tissue, and all those are possible.
Yeah.
Well, let's say she's only doing 10 extra molecules. Well, how do we prevent that? Well, this is why we do the stoppage once a month. So what we do, and here's one way to do it, on day 1 of each month, calendar day 1, a woman stops her hormones, all of them. And then she waits. And day 2, no hormones. Day 3, the third day of the month, no hormones. And let's say by day 3, she's starting to have hot flashes. She's starting to have symptoms of insufficient hormones. Well, what we know for sure is if she stops for 3 days, she will not be accumulating over the course of years, because she made it all the way to deficiency symptoms, and they appeared on day 3. But we're not trying to be exact about this. What we do from that point on is we have her stop 2 days a month. We don't want her to stop 3 days a month. We don't need her to get into deficiency symptoms. We just want to have some kind of gross cross-check that once a month she lowers her hormone levels. We don't need her to lower it into symptoms of insufficiency. That's why if she got a hot flash after 3 days, from that point on, we ask her to stop only 2 days. We don't want her to get a symptom of insufficiency. It makes it tricky to recover. But it's a gross and not 100% scientifically accurate way that once a month she stops, she drains a little bit, and we say that most women will then prevent hormone accumulation over the course of time. That's why we stop once a month. It's to give them a break. Now, we also learn something by that stoppage. Let's say they stop on the 1st of the month, and by that evening, they're having a hot flash. Oh boy, did we learn something about that woman. Riding the lowest end of what was workable to give her hormone symptom alleviation. All she had to do was miss her morning dose of bias, and she's got symptoms by evening. We don't have to do a 24-hour urine hormone test to learn that this woman is riding the low end. Oh, we learned something about her. And we probably want to increase her dosages. She's not going to accumulate. Let's say something else happens. Let's say a woman who at the beginning of menopause, prior to treatment, she was having major hot flashes. And then she went on a journey and eventually found her right dosages. And now we don't ask her to do the stoppage thing until the 3rd or 4th month usually. We don't want to learn about stoppage in the beginning. We want to request that a woman stops after she's really stabilized, she's dialed in, we know her dosages. That could be 3 months, 4 months, 5 months, 6 months, we don't care. But let's say the woman's dialed in, she's got symptom alleviation, she's on her dosages, she knows what they are, and she stops. No symptoms on the first day of stoppage, no symptoms on the second day of stoppage, 3rd, 4th, 5th. The longest I've ever seen a woman go was 5 weeks before she developed her first hot flash.
Wow.
What does that tell us? Uh-oh, this woman's got too much hormone on board.
Yeah.
So we learned something from the stoppage. It's not the main reason we're doing it. The main way we find out of whether a woman's in the optimal zone, not too much and not too little, is through the 24-hour urine hormone test on month 3 or 4, once her symptoms are dialed in and alleviated. But if we have a woman stop, like I had a patient, she developed breast tenderness. We had her stop. It took her 5 weeks for that breast tenderness to go away. Now, that's a slightly different story, but we learn something when a woman stops. Ideally, when a woman stops once a month, the first time out, she develops on the 2nd day or the 3rd day or the 4th day symptoms. Then we learned she's hovering pretty close to a zone there, and not too much and not too little. That's not the final answer, but the 24-hour urine hormone test is. But we learn a lot of different things from a lot of things. That's why we stop once a month.
Okay. I hear you. An interesting question came in. I don't usually do this, but the question is, does accumulation happen if you're on estradiol injections? So, I mean, would it matter? Like, would you stop those too?
Well, you know that I'm absolutely not a fan of estradiol injections. They behave very differently than daily application of topical hormones, topical estrogen. Yet if, caveat, if a woman, the only thing that was available to women was estradiol injections, absolutely, I'd recommend them.
Got it.
Now, once again, this isn't state of the art. This is estradiol only. If you read our book, you'll see I make a strong case for also, as far as estrogen treatment, treating with estriol, usually 4 times or 3 times as much estriol as you do estradiol. So that's just a sidebar. But injection behaves different as well. When you rub something on the skin, it takes a little time to get into the body, and the levels in your body increase, and they transfer through the subcutaneous fats. So the levels in which they reach your blood are gradual and slow. When you inject something, man, you get a peak.
Yeah.
Very rapidly.
Right.
And that's not desirable in the world of hormones. That's not copying nature. Your ovary doesn't wake up in the morning and say, let's do the dump. Let's do the daily dump of estrogens.
Okay.
By the way, the ovary just does not dump estradiol. It doesn't do a dump.
Right.
It doesn't behave like that. It's a very measured, careful placing of the hormone into the bloodstream.
Right.
So again, we're constantly wanting to replicate nature as best as we can. And so I'm not a fan of injections, and that's the story. But if it's the only thing that a woman has access to, bravo, do it for 10, 20, 30, 40 years. That's how I feel about it. That's the only way that you can get estrogen, is injecting it. Do it for the rest of the time you're on Earth.
No, yeah, exactly. And
of course, I'm hoping that estradiol injections are not the sum total of the program you're doing. I'm hoping that you also have progesterone. And here's something that's really, really important I want you to hear. Progesterone and estrogen are not enough. Some of the most devastating things that happen to women, and it happens to every woman, not exceptions, is low testosterone. And the consequence of low testosterone, every woman that I've tested, there's no woman that's gone beyond 3 years from her last period that does not have way too low testosterone.
Yeah.
A lot of women are entering the perimenopause with low testosterone. But the long-term consequences of low testosterone are loss of muscle. And this is what leads women from walking to canes to walkers to wheelchairs. And when you couple that with loss of the muscle that holds up the bladder and the uterus, you get into adult diapers, you get into urinary incontinence. And those two things, the transition from a walker to a wheelchair and the transition from having control over your urine to adult diapers, is one of the main reasons that the worst case scenario happens. A woman has to leave home and go into an assisted living facility or a nursing home. That's not the only reason why you get in there. And, some women, occasionally you'll see a woman who just does fine, no hormones at all. It's pretty rare, though. And I'm not trying to scare you. I'm trying to say, estradiol alone is not enough, and maybe you're also doing progesterone of some kind, bravo, but don't ever leave out testosterone. Testosterone is not a male hormone. It's
right,
a
and yet
human hormone, and women have a requirement for a certain amount of testosterone. So if a woman's getting flabby under here, or if a woman has to use her arms to get out of a chair, or if a woman's down on the floor and has to use her arms to get up because her legs are weaker, you got something going on called sarcopenia. It's a technical term for muscle loss. And that just keeps progressing in most women. So a proper menopausal treatment program absolutely includes testosterone. In fact, we give out 3 bottles in the menopause method. One of them's biased, one of them is progesterone, and the third one's a combination of testosterone and DHEA. Very rarely the woman doesn't need the testosterone and DHEA, but so what? They keep it for a while. They're gonna need it. But
right.
most women do. So, you know, there's a lot to all this thing, and it takes you down to the bottom line again is this is your job. As a woman in menopause, you have a job. Your job is to connect up with someone who really understands how to treat you properly and does it. And you go shopping for that person. That's your job. It's very helpful for you to know some things. Please read our book. But the bottom line, here's your job. Find someone who knows what they're doing. And in this day of telemedicine, it's easier than ever before. And if you want to have help with that, connect with us at the Menopause Method. But that's what we do. We train people. But that's your job, really. It's wonderful that you ask all these questions. You shouldn't have to ask all these questions. I understand why you have to ask all these questions, because it's a wild west out there in the world of treating menopause. You don't see neurology websites that have, Facebook pages that have thousands of patients trying to figure it out together. You don't see that in orthopedic surgery. There's not these Facebook pages for orthopedic surgery where patients are desperately trying to find out, how do I understand that? How do you set my femur? How do you do this? What's the right thing?
Right.
You don't see it, but you do in menopause, and it's a real weakness. But the good news is great people are out there. We're training them, for example.
Absolutely.
Your job is really someone who's an expert who really can dial in the whole program for you.
No, right. And I mean, you just multiply it times the amount of forums that are out there. And back in 2015, there were no groups and there was very little information. It was very taboo. And you're absolutely correct. The questions that come in are amazing. Women want to know, they want to learn. I know it, but I wish, back in the day that we had been given classes on this. I was even in school and I didn't learn any of this.
But you don't ultimately need the classes. Someone's got to write prescriptions.
Correct.
And the very best thing that could happen to you is you'd find someone you would trust who knows what they're doing. And it's just like me and my car. I used to love to do my own mechanics, and now I don't. I like to drop it off, have a trusted mechanic. And when the trusted mechanic tries to explain to me what they did because they care and they want to teach, I say, I'm just so grateful I found you. I don't need any of the details.
Period. Yes.
But there's a lot of questions popping up here. So
there are indeed. So I just want to bring it to this, that it would be the testosterone, the progesterone, and the estrogen bias, that you would stop those 3 for the first day.
Any ovarian hormones that you're on, you stop the whole.
All of them, not one by one. Okay. I do have other questions, but while I'm looking at these, being on biased and progesterone, then I was introduced to testosterone. After several days, I did feel my nipples very sensitive. I am sure it was not it was not excess, I guess, of estrogen, because stopped biased today, and guess what? Hot flash. Yeah, and that's what we're saying, absolutely. Another one.
Well, let's pause.
Yeah. Let's pause for a sec.
There's not quite enough information there. This kind of stuff, when you're beginning treatment programs where you get nipple tenderness, you add another hormone, something else happens. This is very common. You're reintroducing hormones that you haven't seen for a while.
Mm-hmm.
You certainly haven't seen them in levels like they were when you were younger.
Right.
So it's a process, and we make this very clear to all our patients. We're going to go on a journey. We're going to figure this out together. You might have some symptoms, but I don't even think in terms when a woman is in the perimenopause, I think in terms of 2, 3, 4 months.
I lost you there.
Burrow in to see, does it relate to the testosterone? Need to have someone to guide you that's familiar with this startup phenomena where there's symptoms, and then you walk it out together. And do read our book, because that can help you sort of figure out, if you want to, what's going on.
Absolutely. I truly believe that knowledge is power, and that the more we learn, the less we fear, and then the more empowered we become to be able to understand and help ourselves. And there's a lot of it just feels really good to find a doctor that says, I'm going to go on this journey with you, and we're going to do it together. It's really a very nice and safe feeling, as opposed to, well, I won't even say about that. One question, I'll go on to the next, because I know your answer. Does he recommend, as in you, oral meds?
No.
Oral meds.
Certainly not oral estrogen. Absolutely not oral testosterone, what can injure the liver. And there's
Sorry, ladies. I'll be back in a minute.
And now, if oral Earth was oral estrogen, and there's plenty of it available, it has been for decades and decades and decades, well, then that would be good. But oral estrogen has unusual, rare, but definite possible adversities. And so in a day and age when there's 7,500 compounding pharmacies in the United States, there's 3 in your town,
right?
Most of your town, if not 10,
right?
And you want to get your estrogens biased topically, and your testosterone topically. Now, we always start women on topical progesterone, but occasionally, because progesterone can be safely taken orally, we will add oral progesterone.
Right.
And DHEA also can be safely taken orally. Now, hear this, though. Do not take over 15 milligrams of DHEA. 15. Don't take over 15, because 24-hour urine hormone tests, if you're taking over 15, for most women, is going to show you having it's not a good thing to do. So oral estrogen, why do it when there's possible adversities? And topical works beautifully. And oral testosterone, don't ever do it. I don't even know if you can get oral testosterone. Just do testosterone topically. It works beautifully. Progesterone orally, yes, sometimes we do prescribe progesterone orally for special reasons, especially related to sleep. And oral DHEA, yeah, just don't go over 15 milligrams. And hey, you can do it topically mixed in with your testosterone, so why bother? It's cheaper.
Right, and that makes it beautiful.
Yeah.
Yes, it's very easy. So getting to A question that I want to ask is that some say that injections of testosterone is a good idea, especially when a woman has lost a lot of hair due to taking testosterone topically. And can you share your feelings in regards to this? I'm seeing questions about T&E, cypionate injections, and a lot is coming up about testosterone. So maybe we can visit that.
Well, testosterone injections have been going on for a long time. And so they're popular, and they're popularly available. And many doctors have been, men have been given injectable testosterone
Forever and a day. Ooh, I keep losing you, Dr. R. Hang on, ladies. Oh, I'm so sorry. We're having technical difficulties here. Hang tight.
Can you?
I can.
I'm a fan of doing. Yeah, I'm hearing there's some internet problems here. I'm going to see if I can improve our internet problems by. So I'll be working in the background here to improve our internet problems if I can. But excuse me, folks. I'm doing some IT work, hopefully to improve our connection. Yes,
yeah,
sir.
We're losing your voice. That's all. We see you, but we lose your voice.
And I'll try and talk out of the corner of my mind here while I'm
the windmills of your mind.
Trying to give us some extra bandwidth here.
Yeah.
Let's see how this goes.
Frozen, but we can hear your voice.
How about now? Am I okay now?
No, I mean you're frozen, but I can hear you.
Oh, isn't that peachy?
Yeah.
Let's see if I can improve it some more. If I lose you, Carolyn, I'll call in Andre and we'll do the whole deal.
Okay.
How about now? Am I unfrozen?
Yeah, you're still frozen, but you can keep talking. Oh, there you are.
Okay, good.
I'm talking.
Good.
Yeah.
So, injection. It's amazing how less needle phobic people are these days. And I salute you for that. And there are things that it's good to inject, but really this question originated around the issue of hair.
Correct.
And hair is an important issue.
Yes.
And it's a common one. Not for Carolyn Shapiro, but for most everybody.
This is due to my grandfather.
A lot of women have hair issues, and so we really respect it. And it's often blamed on testosterone, and I'm going to challenge that.
Okay.
I don't know what percentage of prescribers are actually seeing accurate representations of testosterone levels, i.e., is there too much or too little? But I suspect when someone's accusing testosterone or topical testosterone as being a problem, that the actual level of testosterone in a woman is not being measured by the only way that I know that really works, which is a 24-hour urine hormone test. And we look at testosterone and DHEA and two principal metabolites, minimal. And what do? We dial it in to where it represents decent levels, close to youthful levels. We know what those numbers are. And the 24-hour urine hormone tests while a woman is taking her testosterone daily shows us exactly where she is. And it's remarkable how many women that we test that their testosterone and DHEA and the 2-androgen metabolites are not in the zone. So before you draw any conclusions about topical testosterone, I want to see a 24-hour urine hormone test. And what do I want to do? I want to copy nature, because when you were 25 and most women had optimal levels of testosterone for their body. Yes, occasionally they didn't. Occasionally they had too much. Occasionally they had too little, especially if they're on birth control pills. But most women, young women who were regularly menstruating, also had optimal levels of testosterone, and they were rich levels of testosterone. And if you get into trouble and you think it's due to testosterone and you're in menopause and you're taking topical testosterone, I'm going to assert this: your numbers are not proper. You either got too much or too little.
Right.
Now you're saying you're turning to injection and that's helping. Well, again, these things, we're always individualizing to an individual woman. And listen, if injectable testosterone saving your hair and you're getting restoration of hair and you're not getting symptoms of testosterone overdose and your libido is returning and you're, listen, let's go with it.
Right.
However, it's so easy to assist a woman in menopause to get on to optimal levels of testosterone by applying testosterone topically to the skin or a mucous membrane. That's my preferred way of doing it. And to combine the testosterone with the DHEA and dial those numbers in. It's an inexpensive way to do it. You don't have to do injections. And my favorite way is in our organic oils to deliver the testosterone topically. But listen, if injectable testosterone, if you found the recipe to save your hair, bless your heart. And that's the starting point. And when a woman comes to me and she says, pretty rare, that she finally figured out how to save her hair, and by God, she had to do injectable testosterone, I'm not going to say, well, let's stop your injectable testosterone.
Right, and make you go the other way.
Topically. No, we're not going to do that. But what we will do, and I'm in the process of doing this with one of our Menopause Method members right now, we're going to very carefully help her transition to topical testosterone. And if for 1 minute she feels worse, we're going to just back up to what did work. These things are done inch by inch. And so you never say never. Now, my experience with women who are injecting testosterone is very often they're getting into these supercharged levels of testosterone. And here's a principle in the world of hormones. Don't give too much.
Right.
Hormones are so powerful that we want to give the right amount, the optimal amount. We don't want to invent a new woman by doubling the amount that she would have as a young woman, or tripling it or quadrupling it. And we're working with a patient right now where her testosterone levels are extraordinarily high, and she's trying to pull the whole train with testosterone. No, we want to copy nature. Hair. Let's go back to hair. There's an estrogen component to hair that's really important. Want to know why young women have abundant hair? It ain't because of the testosterone. Yes, testosterone affects hair.
Yeah.
But that rich hair, as far as it's dependent on hormones, is primarily dependent on thyroid and estrogen, or should I say it reverse, in an adolescent young woman. It's due to that blossoming of the estrogen. So there's a lot of moving parts to hair, including nutrition, oh my God, and digestion and assimilation. Hair is made out of protein and minerals. Oh, what about them? They're the two most complex things for us to digest, period, on the planet.
Yeah.
You can digest simple carbohydrates. If it's sweet,
Try
oh,
eating a
you
rock.
don't need any digestive power to do that. If you start moving towards protein and minerals, you're dealing with the most complex stuff to digest on the planet. And guess what happens to adults? Over the course of time, often coinciding with midlife, the change of life, we have our digestive power is diminished below what really works well. And so anyone who's losing their hair, we're not only thinking about rebalancing the hormones and dialing them into something that copies nature, we're also thinking about does their nutrition, does their diet contain what they need to make hair? They need protein and minerals. That's what hair is made out of. But even as important, are they able to digest it? And the answer is often no. And we have a colleague, Dr. Jonathan Wright, for example, who he bought one of these really complex machines to measure stomach acid. And he did stomach acid tests on hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people. And eventually he told his technician this: if you ever run a test and you see someone who's normal, please call me in. I want to meet them. What is he really saying? That in adults, you see so few people with adequate hydrochloric acid. If you don't have adequate hydrochloric acid, it's unlikely that you're digesting your protein and minerals. Why am I going into this depth? Because hair is not just about hormonal balance, and you want to get proper hormone levels in menopause. That's our goal. Replenish these hormones. You got the right amount, and hair is part of it. But also consider digestion, assimilation, and nutrition, and that you're not losing your hair, you're not pulling your hair out because of stress of life. Because that
yes, right. Like you said, lots of moving parts.
So lots of moving parts. I've gone over my allotted time for answering.
It's okay. It's okay. There's a question here that came up that I'd like to ask. It says, what happens if you take, we're back again to this, but what happens if you do take more than 15 milligrams of DHEA? My doctor has prescribed 25 milligrams.
And also, the remainder of that question is 15 milligrams recommended for males? No, males can take quite a bit more. Again, what does it all come down to? Testing.
Balance? Oh.
These hormones, they're intimately and intricately connected to one another. And if you start messing with one, you can throw off the balance of all of them.
Is that the HPA-TG axis?
Well, you're talking about the inner machinery.
Yeah.
But yeah, you can throw off all of them. And what are we trying to do? We think that nature has the ideal template. For example, if you take too much progesterone, you can throw off the working of estrogen.
Right.
Even if you're supposedly taking the right amount of estrogen. You can do it with any of these, including excessive DHEA, because excessive DHEA can convert to estrogen, it can convert to testosterone. You don't want to be messing with a new woman, and you don't want to be throwing off her balance. How do you find out if you're on too much DHEA? You do the 24-hour urine hormone test. I don't know any other way to do it, really. And really, what we're talking about here is we're doing a test while you're taking hormones. If you take DHEA in the morning and we were trying to assess it by blood test, what time do we draw your blood?
Right.
Do we draw it 15 minutes after you took it, an hour after you took it, 2 hours? Well, we don't know what your individualized absorption rate is. We don't know when you get your peak absorption. Ideally, we want to test you with your peak. So there's all kinds of issues trying to test hormones that when you're getting treated with hormones, And the American College of Gynecology, they know this. They say don't test people by blood tests or saliva tests. And they're right, because there's this issue called pharmacokinetics. Now, in all due respect, there are physicians and nurse practitioners and compounding pharmacists who are treating women in menopause, and they're doing blood testing, and you can get some approximates there. So I don't want to totally discourage this. And it's much easier to, so people think, to come by blood testing. I think it's much easier to get a 24-hour urine hormone test kit shipped to your home, and for less than $300, you get the state-of-the-art, and you ship it off. You don't leave your home. You call UPS when you're done, and you haven't left your home to do this 20. I think it's a lot simpler than going in and getting your blood drawn.
Oh, God.
Billion% more accurate. I don't know of another accurate way to do it. So,
yeah, I mean, yeah, that gets into a whole thing. And a lot of people do test by blood. A lot of people do test by saliva, Dutch, all this stuff.
I recommend none of that. I
know that.
Hormones, I recommend only the 24-hour urine hormone test. And all this began with that question of what happens if you take more than 15 milligrams. My mentor in DHEA warned me. He said, let's make sure women are not getting over 15 milligrams. You're liable to get some funky testing in there. Now, rarely there's a woman who can even handle 15 milligrams or even do a little more, but they're very rare. And what's the problem? If you got a bunch of hormones going and you take an excessive amount of one, you're liable to throw off the balance of the others.
Right, so absolutely.
That's why you don't do it. And it's just a rule of thumb that if you take 15 milligrams or less, you're not going to throw yourself off. So that's why I mentioned 15 milligrams of oral DHEA.
Got it.
And men can take more. Yes, men can take more.
And another question came up. Is the Dutch test the same as the 24-hour urine test?
It is absolutely not. And it's fraught with technical scientific issues. And I'm not here to injure someone's business. But at the same time, in the world of menopause, if it's not excellent, you're going to see my hair stand on end and smoke come out of my nose and my ears, as you can tell by my voice tone.
And you grow those ears and that long red tail?
So, sorry.
It's okay.
But the world of menopause is injured.
It is.
It's the Wild West, and its reputation is injured. And people love to criticize it, and the government authorities are coming down really hard on it. So I get very uncomfortable and emotional when I know that things are going on out there that do not represent good science. And I know the inside scoop because my ear is to the railroad track. So that's why you see. And I just want to say it again. There is hormone testing that is fabulous. It's the 24-hour urine hormone test. For women in menopause, you want to find someone who's doing that. And when you run across someone who's doing that, you're going to know something about them. They have put in the time that it takes to be able to interpret those tests, because there's so many wonderful things that are reported that you've got a learning curve. I didn't get decent at interpreting 24-hour urine hormone tests until I'd probably done 100. Well, fortunately, the 24-hour urine hormone testing labs has the staff that you can call them up, and every single test that a physician or nurse practitioner or compounding pharmacist runs, they're going to help you interpret it until you learn how to do it. And in our training program, we go into it in great depth. But that's the main barrier why you don't see it widespread, is because the test is so thorough, and there's so many different analytes, they're called, like there's between 15 and 30. And so people when I first looked at my first 24-hour urine hormone test report, I went, oh my God, how am I going to learn all this? It's all Greek to me. And then 100 tests later, but I had a trusted colleague who told me, man, you're going to love this thing eventually once you learn how to do it. So I trusted him. So I kept on going through the learning curve. And after a while, I went, oh my God, this is life-changing for me as someone who's prescribing hormones. I get to see in real time, while a woman is applying her hormones once or twice a day, the levels that she actually has in her body. And I can correlate it with the medical literature, and I can describe what's too much or too little.
Right. And
Now,
you've
the
said
24-hour
that,
urine hormone test is available any place on the planet where FedEx goes. Any country.
well, I've got people here saying, what company does a 24-hour? How do I find the 24-hour?
You have to contact us privately because, we can't
No.
name names. I'm very scared to mention your name, Carolyn Shapiro, because it's like mentioning a name on a.
No, we don't want to promote this company versus that company versus the other. But you can reach out to Dr. R. Absolutely. We can help you to point you in the right direction.
So I can mention your name. I am safe to mention your name. I can say Carolyn. I can say Carolyn Shapiro and stuff like that.
Yeah, because I'm famous.
So it's not the same thing as mentioning a laboratory's name.
No,
Okay.
But there is help and there is hope and it can be done. And yes, absolutely, it can be done and we're getting there. And you have said, Dr. R, that were it not for the 24-hour urine test, you probably wouldn't be sitting here.
Absolutely not. I would not. It taught me something that, it's like a doctor trying to manage a diabetic without having any access to the blood test.
Right.
And, there was a day where how did someone measure whether the treatment was working for a diabetic? Well, they could taste the urine and see if it was sweet because the diabetic was out of control, is pumping that glucose into that urine. So what's my point? Without testing, it's tough to manage these potent, powerful biochemicals that we're playing with. You can't measure insulin levels and blood glucose levels, and you're dealing with a type 1 diabetic. Good luck.
No, it ain't gonna happen.
By coma, you can measure if you give too much insulin. You can measure it by fainting.
Right.
No, we don't want to have to do that.
No, we don't do that. No.
The urine. We could do it. We used to do when I was in medical school. We wanted to see if a diabetic was putting out too much sugar in their urine. We did these dipsticks.
Yes, I remember that.
That's reasonable. No, when you're doing something so powerful as hormones, you want to get accurate testing.
Got it. I got to ask this question, and I'm sorry, Krishna. We aren't discussing inflammation today, and I apologize for that. But we're just not discussing inflammation today. There you see them. I don't see them. But I do have another couple of questions. And I'm wondering if you can answer this one. Some of us cannot raise our HDL, it's cholesterol. What can we do to help this? And if our LDL is high, is this really bad because we do need cholesterol? Is that an okay question?
Well, it's an okay question. And it's whether I want to venture into it.
Right.
Discussion of hormones. And so I will.
Oh, okay.
But look out.
Oh. It's going to take us to our hard stop, I have a feeling.
We're talking about cholesterol, and there's a core question there. I'm going to try and be brief. I'm going to really try. There's a core question. Does the blood cholesterol levels accurately reflect coronary artery risk and risk for heart attack? There's way too many more moving parts, and there's way better testing to assess coronary arteries and the propensity for heart attack than the Why did they do cholesterol? Because they did autopsies on rabbits that had coronary artery blockage and on humans, and they saw these plaques, these calcium-laden plaques blocking the arteries, and they saw what was they saw that there was this fatty substance in the plaque, and they learned that it was cholesterol. And so they made this assumption a zillion years ago that if we measure cholesterol, we're going to be able to tell someone whether they've got a coronary artery issue. Oh my God, cardiology's come a million miles since then.
Yes.
Think about it. You stick a needle into the arm and you draw some blood, and you're going to be able to tell with accuracy about what's going on in the coronary arteries? No, you're not. But you can do other tests, even blood tests that are more accurate than that. But you really want to get into the coronary arteries. Cardiologists have got some exquisite tools, including stress EKGs, for example. Much better testing, and they go way beyond that. So
right
now, cholesterol. For cholesterol to elevate, and you see it very commonly, there's common reasons. People are eating funky diets that they're really messing with their internal metabolism. And in our book on weight, the last chapter in the book is on weight gain, and Carolyn has made it available on Ins and Outs of Menopause. You can download
right at the top of the page. Yep. Download it.
And so we discuss some of the things that relate to weight, and cholesterol is in there. And interestingly enough, I'm going to give you the short version. You can mess with cholesterol by messing with your diet and eating too many simple carbohydrates. How does that relate to cholesterol? Or eating way too much fat that you're not handling. Or the same mechanism that controls glucose regulation, that is insulin, and this is what we talk about it also controls blood fat like triglycerides and cholesterol. So one of the reasons you start to see cholesterol elevations in folks, in so many folks, as we grow older, is that exquisite mechanism that manages internally the metabolism of glucose and triglycerides and simple fats and cholesterol goes cattywonk because people beat it up. They beat up that mechanism, that insulin glucose regulating mechanism. We beat it up by dietary indiscretions, i.e. simple carbohydrates. In other words, if it's sweet, how many people over 40 can really handle sweets? Should really be candy bars, sugar, Coca-Cola, and soda pops laden with nobody has got
right.
By the time you're 40, most people have beat that up so badly that they're not going to be managing these properly, and you're going to start getting elevated blood glucoses. If you were to test the fasting insulin, you start seeing fasting insulin elevations. We test that. We see it all the time. And you're still going to see triglyceride elevations, and you're going to see cholesterol elevations. The other thing that really plays heavily into that is excessive and inappropriate use of the biology of the stress response. So if you're doing fight and flight day in and day out, and you don't have to, you can learn tools to deal with your emotions in your life, and you can have a much better time healing past emotional stuff that we've stuffed in our body and current emotional challenges, because the human life is designed to have these challenges. But we don't have to trigger the dinosaur. We're going to have to run away from a dinosaur or a saber-toothed tiger every time it happens, the biology, because that's a recipe for throwing off glucose regulation. Excessive fight or flight chemistry is a perfect recipe, perfect storm for injuring and leaning into and excessively dealing with the glucose regulating mechanism, the triglyceride, the cholesterol regulating mechanism. So moral of the story is you got to gain some tools to deal with the stress of life so that you're not responding biologically as if a saber-toothed tiger just attacked you, because they're not. And yet
the stories we tell ourselves, right?
Pardon?
The stories we can tell ourselves.
Yeah, and the emotional energy involved with that. So
Exactly.
I don't want to venture into it more.
Got it.
But the repair mechanism for that cholesterol is exercise, impeccable diet. Oh, impeccable diet. Oh, people are often quite a distance from impeccable diet.
Yes.
So a good health coach, a nutritionist who really cares, is more up on the modern information. Your local health food store. There's someone in that store that cares about nutrition and could talk to you about it. There's wonderful books on the subject. But a good health coach can guide you into an optimal diet. And you could be a lot further away from an optimal diet than you'd ever believe, because we don't know what we don't know. But you want to address that cholesterol. You do 3 things. You optimize your nutrition. You acquire information, tools, and support to deal with your emotions and the challenges of life. You optimize your hormones, and you exercise.
Which means you can actually put a song on YouTube in the morning or the afternoon and dance. And that's exercise. You don't necessarily have to go to the gym and, do all these, bleh. I don't like that. It's spelled B-L-E-C-H. Bleh. For me, it's
we have
not.
a lot of gym lovers, and I'm one of them when I have the chance to do it.
Yeah.
So you never want to rule those out. And it's fun to exercise with other people. But I understand you're saying, hey, in your life, in your home, you can do simple things that are fun to really get your heart moving and your muscles moving. And what did you mention? The word dense or dance, or what did you call it?
Bum, 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 bum. It looks like dancing, right?
dancing in your living room. What you're suggesting.
I love it. For me.
Me
However
too.
you do it, just get there
Pretty
and
easy to do.
Yeah, get your heart up, go to the gym, run, walk, dance, whatever you want to do. Exercise, eat correctly, get a good health coach, nutritionist, be with us because we're the best. We are. And just shake your body. My Facebook, Krishna. Yeah, absolutely. And we can have fun and we can do it and we can feel healthy, get our hormones balanced, do it right. And like Dr. Rosensweet always says, our lives are going to matter as much to us when we are 70, 80, 90, and 100 and 110 as they do to us today at whatever age we're at, right?
Oh, yeah. What I'm doing is I'm copying these questions so that you can ask them next week, because there's a lot of them.
There are, and oh my God, I have another 15 that I have on top of that.
And so next Tuesday we'll be back.
We will indeed.
And Carolyn, I'll get you all these questions. And say, everybody who's joining us, it's fun. Thank you for being there. And
a huge thank you for being here, everybody, and a huge thank you to you, Dr. Rosensweet, and your amazing information and helping to make us all feel cared about and safe, and telling us that there is help and hope. That's huge. It is.
A lot of women are getting this, and sometimes they don't get it right out of the gate, but as they venture into the world of getting proper hormone care, sooner or later they get it. And
it's true.
they do. It's life-changing. So we know there's some hurdles to cross out there, but cross them. Do it. You'll get there. Carolyn Shapiro is the perfect example of it.
I went 17 years without hormones. Are you kidding? That was not fun. And I feel a lot better now. And my heart is so full seeing all these women saying thank you and thank you and thank you. And we love you guys and thank you. And, how can you think that that's bad?
So everybody have a wonderful weekend. I'm going to sign off.
Hasta, everybody. A big, huge blessings to all. Have a great weekend, safe weekend. Get your dance on and enjoy. We'll talk to you later.